What are the cycles fathers pass down that sons are left to heal? What if being a man wasn't about holding it all together, but learning how to let go? This is a space where men speak truth and find the power to heal and transform. I'm Mike Della Rocha. Welcome to Sacred Lessons. Movement is ancestral memory. Dance is dialogue, and our cultural practices and traditions are our lifelines. For many Indigenous and Chicano communities, culture is everything. It's the medicine we carry, the lessons ingrained in our bodies, and the blueprint for our way forward. Welcome to Sacred Lessons. I'm Mike Della Rocha. Today's guest bridges worlds, derived from Lumbee ancestry and Chicano roots, through the circle of hoop dance and the lens of film. Eric Michael Hernandez is a world champion hoop dancer, culture ambassador, TEDx speaker, and filmmaker who has transformed the hoop into a canvas of identity, healing, and representation. Eric's story isn't only about the hoop dance. It's about family. It's about a father who shaped him in both spoken and unspoken ways. For so many men, our relationship with our father is where we first learn about manhood, strength, and vulnerability. Here we are. It's so good to see you, Eric. Thank you for being a part of this whole journey. And I wanted to take it to where we first met at the Raisado Festival. We had crazy experiences. I want you to briefly, quickly talk about the Town Poet and the Black Bear and late night pizza.
Man, first of all, thanks for having me on.
For sure.
What an honor. Congratulations on
Thank
all
you.
this. Man, Aspen. So what? We watched the film. We went to an incredible event, and then after we went for some late night pizza.
We did.
Apparently the most popular pizza in town because there was a line all the way up the stairs.
Yep.
You guys got in line. You went up.
Yep.
I ended up hanging out outside for a little bit.
With a special surprise guest.
Yep. Ran into the Town Poet and just he basically was begging me to bring him back down a slice.
Yep.
And he was just selling me on that. And I said, well, what you got, man? I heard, you're the Town Poet. Give me something.
Yep.
You want a slice of pizza? Let me hear something.
Yep.
And he laid it down. He gave me like a whole 2-minute poem. And then as he's doing his poem, a bear walks by.
Straight up bear.
A full-on black bear right in the middle of town.
Yep.
Pulled out my phone and captured it. And that was unbelievable. And then I went up to meet you guys in the pizza. And you guys were like, oh, where were you? What was going on? And I was like, oh, I was just down there with the Town Poet. And we were eating our pizza, and then we left the shop, and I was like, oh, yeah, there was a bear, too.
And we were like, you're crazy. You didn't see no bear.
And I showed you guys the video.
Showed us the video.
Man, so that was a good time, man. That festival was really special.
Very.
Really special for community and the Latino community, and it was an incredible time up there. I loved it.
Well, big ups to Monica Ramirez and the whole team.
Yep.
But what brought us together was this remarkable film called Courage that you wrote and directed. But before even getting there, I want the listeners to know, like, how did you even fall into hoop dancing? Like, what was that calling? What was that kind of story that brought you there?
Yeah, so on my mother's side, I come from the Lumbee tribe from North Carolina. Okay. My father's from East Los Angeles. So we grew up in LA.
Yep.
My mom's a twin, and my mom's twin married a man named Terry Godell, who's from the Yakima Tulalip tribe, Washington State. And he was a hoop dancer. He was a 9-time world champion hoop dancer. And when my parents separated, I was about 11 years old. My mom started to send me more and more to my Uncle Terry as like a father figure. Mm-hmm. And he used this dance called the hoop dance to kind of father me and to teach me traditional ways and to teach me how to become a man. There's a lot of stories and wisdom inside of this dance. And he taught me and my cousin Michael, and we just kept dancing and we fell in love with it. At first, I didn't really gravitate towards it. I wanted to be more like my dad, actually. My dad was a professional football player. And he was my hero. And now I have my uncle stepping in trying to play dad. And I'm like, you're not my dad, And it wasn't until I realized that that dance and that tradition was actually something that allowed me to share a very unique story and a unique side of myself in the world that I was living in amongst my peers. And it gave me an opportunity to show them something that I didn't think that they would understand, and show them these traditions. And I just fell in love with it. Yeah, man.
And so you're half Lumbee, half Chicano, growing up in Los Angeles. And we have this conversation about we're all indigenous, a lot of us, Mexicanos, Chicanos, what have you. What was that tension like? And were you resistant to like showing your school, your friends, the dance and that part of who you are?
Yeah. And on my Mexican side with my father, culture wasn't too present.
Right.
Even my grandparents, it was more about fitting into society.
Right.
It was more about speaking English and, blending in and wanting to be, just mixed in with the capitalist society.
Right.
And as a young boy, being in school and in high school, I wanted to thrive in sports. I wanted to, be a star basketball player like my two older brothers were. And the hoop dance, the idea that I would ever show anybody this hoop dance was just like terrifying.
Never. Yeah.
Especially as, a freshman in high school or a sophomore, you just kind of want to fit in, right?
Right.
And that wasn't the way to do it. I wasn't going to show up and use these hoops. I thought that they would call these hula hoops or call my regalia a costume. And I just didn't think they would understand. And I learned later on that it's because they don't understand that I now have a very clear purpose. And that's to create that understanding.
Well, take me back though. You're 14, 13, freshman in high school.
Man.
That takes a lot of kind of internal strength to be like, I'm going to step outside of just fitting in, which is what the society wants us to do, right? Assimilate and be that. But what was it? Was it your uncle's guidance or what was it that gave you like the to do that though?
You know what, man? I got cut from the team and everything that I thought that I wanted to be, everything I was chasing had just got pulled from under me. I didn't make the basketball team. I didn't even feel like I fit into my own family with my brothers. And I'm like, man, who am I? What do I do if I don't get to go practice and play sports?
Right.
What do I even do?
Right.
I was lost. I hit like a rock bottom. I didn't even want to go to school. I didn't want to be around people. And I think at that very low point, I found myself connecting to something deeper, which was my culture. And, I think in those super low points, a lot of times in our ceremonies and in practices, we create those environments for ourselves to be able to have those enlightening moments.
Right.
And I think that as a kid, I had that moment where I didn't know which way to turn. I didn't know what else to do. And that hoop dance, it was almost like it was calling me. And I denied it at first. And I'm lucky that I had a mentor, which was my uncle. And, he led me in the right direction, but I didn't want it. And eventually, I think I just realized, you know what? My strength, my way in this world, my way at school, my way in high school is not going to be blending in, fitting in. I'm never going to be as good as them playing their game. Let me find my own lane and let me play my own game. And for me, that was hoop dancing. And it was the scariest thing at the time. But it was the greatest decision, most courageous decision I've ever made in my life. And it really changed the whole trajectory of my path.
I just want to affirm that because I know folks, grown men that have difficulty doing what you just said as a young 13, 14-year-old. And so one, just humbly thank you for doing that. And you also said something earlier about your uncle's guidance and mentorship.
Yeah.
And you used the word father figure. And like, hey man, you're not my father, but you are my uncle. What was that relationship between you and your dad and your uncle? Was it copacetic? Was it difficult? I mean, obviously you took stuff from both, but what was that like?
Yeah, my dad didn't understand at the time what I was doing. He thought it was a waste of time to drive 3 hours on a Saturday to a powwow and go hoop dance. You know, he was kind of like, oh, well, are you getting paid, or, you know, what's going on here? How come you're going off? You know, you got better things you could be doing. And him and my uncle, you know, they went to college together. Oh. It was my mom and her twin sister. My mom met my dad in college, and my dad's twin met my Uncle Terry in college. It was the four of them. Wow. They were a bunch in college. And they were close, but, you know, they had their differences. My dad never fully supported the time that I spent until he eventually saw it. Until he eventually saw it in person. I think I showed him something that he didn't even realize was a thing. And yeah, I think I opened up a piece of my own father, you know. I was able to teach him something as a young kid. And I see my dad as somebody who may have, you know, needed to reflect and go through healing on his own.
Right.
That he may not have done the work on, you know. He was such a successful athlete, and he loved talking about his stories still to this day. Right. My dad's that guy, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Colorado State, 1976.
Yeah.
3 interceptions in a single game. You know, it's like, I know, Dad. You told me yesterday and the day before, and
right.
He's like, yeah, but you got to remember it, you know. I'm like, we know, Dad. And so when I talk about hoop dancing and that vulnerability of getting on stage and art and expressing yourself, it just wasn't his world at all. So yeah, there definitely was a...
Well, let me ask you, from, you know, that dance is a ceremonial dance. It's a sacred dance. And it's vulnerable, like you said, which is a word that men don't often use that much. Did you see your dad try to figure out like who he was culturally from the moment he first saw you dance on that stage? Or did he start to be like a little bit more open with you? Or like, what was that dynamic?
Yeah, I think that even just to hear him say, good job, even just to, you know, hear him kind of clap and give one of those, oh, okay, that was cool, you know, that for me was huge. And seeing that, did he open up culturally? I don't think that he's had the exposure to his own culture to be able to open up. Even my 2 older brothers that were a little bit older when my parents separated, they didn't get the exposure to my uncle's teachings. My 2 older brothers don't hoop dance. They aren't necessarily as involved in Indian country in this community. I was blessed enough to be exposed to it through my uncle and to be interested in it. So I think my dad, although he saw it, I don't think that he wasn't inspired or, you know, to go deeper into his roots or anything. No.
But it obviously changed your career and trajectory, because from that moment of, I don't want to say blossoming, but that moment of like remembrance of who you are, then all of a sudden you're doing a TED Talk. You're going on tour with Cirque du Soleil for almost 10 years. And then you're bringing that tradition to others that may have never known it, like your dad, right?
Yeah.
Like almost that full circle.
Yeah.
So what was that journey like then? Obviously the hoop transformed your life, and obviously you're transforming others through the dance.
Yeah.
But how did that all go down?
I mean, I think just like anything, as an individual, like you have a vision, you can see something.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of times the people around you can't see that vision.
Right.
And it's kind of just like, just hold on, just wait, just watch. And you take the steps that you take and things start to happen and they start to see your vision come to life. And then they go, oh, okay. So I think that as I started to dance as a kid, it was kind of like, okay, what do you playing with these hoops.
Yeah.
And then Cirque du Soleil called me and said, hey, we have a show called Totem and we'd love you to come be the main character and hoop dance all around the world. And I remember even one of my older brothers, Sean, after about a year of being on tour with Cirque du Soleil, he says, hey, you want to teach me how to hoop dance? And I started working with my brother a little bit and teaching him how to hoop dance. And he gained an interest of it and wanted to get more involved. And then when I did my TED Talk, that gave me a chance to not just dance and perform, but it gave me a chance to use my voice and to tell my personal story, just like we're doing here right now.
Right.
And that was the first time that anybody had ever really heard me talk in that way. I was always kind of talking through my dance all those years.
Right.
And then going on that TEDx stage, I was able to formulate the message that I wanted to share, which was my journey of growing up as an urban native and connecting to the dance. And there's such a message in there that is not just particularly cultural, particularly about the hoop dance, but it's just a general message of having the courage to just tap into that authentic side of yourself. To let go of what you think the world is going to think of you, to let go of trying to blend in and actually digging deep and doing that work and saying, who am I and what message do I have to share with the world? What is the light that I can give to this world? And when I talk or I perform, I'm using the hoop dance and I'm using my story as the vehicle.
Right.
But there's a message in there that I hope resonates, with anybody's story.
Which is the title of the film. Courage, like you just said. The courage to tell your story as medicine to help somebody else, or the courage to just be yourself in a world that wants you to be someone other than who you are. And so I saw the film. I felt honored to see the film. But can you talk about that? Like, obviously it's another vehicle to get your voice out and inspire others, but talk about courage.
Yeah, man. Making a film, I think everybody at some point should make a biopic about themselves. Talk about inner work and healing and vulnerability. Getting on stage and hoop dancing is one thing, getting on stage and speaking, but to sit down and write a script about your life and understand those story arcs and understand the antagonist and the protagonist in your life, and to tell that story and to sit in a theater and watch it with those people who are in the story. And then they start to know that that's how you wrote about them. And you start to just heal from whatever it is, that you may have been carrying. And it's just been such an incredible process of creating this film. It's been resonating with audiences all over. I really wanted to create a film that depicted Indigenous people in the modern day in an urban environment. I wanted to get away from cowboys and Indians and Western and these John Ford movies where the native's the bad guy, and I wanted to tell a story that I knew how to tell because it was my experience. And I knew that there's a large demographic of urban natives. 80% of natives live off of reservations, live in cities. And I wanted to tell one of those stories. And it's been a really, truly rewarding process. I've had the chance to share it all across Indian country. We've gone to like over 20 different reservations. Wow. And at first I was like, is this going to resonate with natives on the res? Are they gonna be like, wait, what is this?
Well,
what
yeah.
And it has been. It has been, because that message is digestible, by all different walks of life. And it really has given me a tool to be able to uplift our people, to uplift the next generation. And it's just been an incredible journey so far. And the team building that it requires to bring together a project like this is probably one of my favorite things too. It was really important that we had as many Indigenous people as we could involved in the film. And we truly brought together a cast of Indigenous excellence, and we're able to tell that story in an authentic way.
And one of the things I love is that your uncle actually plays your uncle in the film.
Yes.
And then the person that plays you is the national youth champion of hoop dancing. So you're bridging generations in real time on a screen, but also in life. So what was the calculation for that? Like, why did you decide to go that way? Like, your real uncle, like, was that a cognizant thing? Or you just said, hey, I'm going to do this because I need someone that can be as badass as me in dancing? Or like, what was the whole thing?
When COVID hit and I lost my job with Cirque du Soleil, and I ended up doing my TED Talk, I also started to get into acting. Okay. I started to train a bit, learning how to break down scripts, learning different techniques on set. And I became really passionate for acting. And as I was writing this script, I wanted to give my chance also, an opportunity to be on screen and act. I wanted to play my uncle. That was the original goal. And about 2 weeks before we shot, I prayed about it. And I had to just take my ego out of it and ask myself, what's the best choice? Do I play my uncle, or do we need my uncle to come and play himself and give us that those elder vibes, And that was the best choice. And I decided not to put myself in the film. Here I was already having the opportunity to tell my story.
Right.
I wanted to focus on directing. And I brought him in, and he was a natural. We've always told him that he gives like Denzel vibes.
He's native Denzel.
Yeah, he's a native Denzel.
He is.
And he killed it, man. And then Mateo Ulibarri, who's the 3-time teen world hoop dance champion, I've been watching him grow up and dance. It's a very small world, hoop dancers.
Right.
We meet once a year in Phoenix, Arizona at the Herd Museum hoop dance competition. And Mateo also is half Mexican.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Wow. And I felt like he would be perfect for the role. He was very timid, very shy, never acted before.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, okay, I can get an incredible hoop dancer, which is Mateo, who's never acted, or I can try to find an experienced actor and try to teach them how to hoop dance. I was like, nah, you can't really just teach the hoop dance like that. And the hoop dancing has to be great in this film. I had an incredible mentor. Her name was Legia Villalobos. She was one of the writers on Coco.
Okay.
And she helped me a lot with writing the script. And she also told me, she said, what's going to make this film is the hoop dancing has to be incredible.
Right. And it is.
Yeah. Mateo killed it.
Well, let me ask you something. We live in a world that wants us to believe in binaries, right? And so when you sit down and do a script, you have a protagonist and antagonist, like you said. I oftentimes think like I'm both, right? I'm my own protagonist and antagonist. But in this, when you talked earlier about your uncle and your dad, who played what roles and were they shifting and changing? And after they saw it, how was the reaction?
My dad was the antagonist in the story, and my uncle was the protagonist. And when they saw it, my dad, he hesitated to say anything at first, but, then he owned it, and he said, I see. I see. And I think that I was able to talk to him through this film. And that was really powerful for me. And you know what's crazy is I didn't even intend to do that. As I was writing the script and as I was thinking of the story and the challenges of the main character, I didn't plan on targeting the father as the antagonist, but it happened that way. And it was truth that came out subconsciously.
Yep.
And my uncle loved seeing himself on camera, and I love that we captured that of him. He had a heart attack about a year and a half ago, and it was really special to be able to put him on camera and, you know, immortalize him and put him in this movie, capture his teachings. You know, he's one of the few hoop dancers that is known as just carrying some of the deepest knowledge within the dance. He's been dancing for 50 years. When he started dancing, it was nearly a dying art. He's a big part of the revival of this art form. So to have Terry, this legend, and have Mateo, the future, and me kind of in the middle directing it, it was a dream come true to bring that hoop dance world and hoop dance community and to tell my own story using these incredible hoop dance figures.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because father figures, right? Terry, your dad, father figures. In some respects, you're being a father figure for the young man who played you. And this whole podcast came about because of the words unspoken between my father and I. And it was the practice of the paper and the pen and writing out kind of my trauma, really, not knowing subconsciously like you, like, oh man, this is how my relationship really was with my dad. I was actually running away from the complexity and the beauty and the trauma and everything else. But I was able to say things to my dad that I wasn't able to say when he was alive through the book. But with your Uncle Terry and your dad, is there anything that you want to tell him that you haven't through the film or anything else that's left unspoken?
Yeah, you know, recently with my dad, this is something that was never said growing up, never said until recently. And even now, it's still, you have to push it. You have to push for it. But even just telling my dad, I love you. You know, when I'm with him and I'm hanging out with him and he's leaving, he's getting in his car to leave. Love you, Dad. That for me is a huge step forward. And when he hears it, you know, from me, I'm giving him the permission to say, I love you, son. And then it'll switch. One time I'll see him and he'll say, love you, Eric. And it hits. And it's like, love you, Dad. And we've started to create that exchange very recently, within the last 6 months.
Wow.
And that's beautiful, you know?
I'm getting teary-eyed because I would tell my dad, I love you, Papa, right? But it was hard for him to reply back, you know? And so much of men, we just hold it in because no one teaches us the language of love. And so when you receive it, especially from a son, it's hard to process, let alone like reply back, you know? And so I just want to say, man, that's a beautiful thing to like heal those cycles where you allowed the space for you not only to have the courage to tell your dad, hey, I love you, Dad, but him to feel vulnerable enough to reply back and say, I love you too, Eric. And then to say it first, that is profound.
And it's like pulling teeth.
I know, trust, it is.
You know, you got to generate that out of thin air because there's no energy towards it.
No.
It's not like, oh, you know, you got to create that. And so.
And what are your thoughts just like, why do you think it's so hard for us men just to be like, you know, like I always say when I'm drunk with my brother or my friends, all of a sudden, I love you more. No, but I love you more. It's all just flowing, obviously. But why? What are your thoughts? Why is it so hard for us men to tell our fathers, let alone our friends or family, that we love them?
Man, that's a great question.
That's the question, right?
My experience with Cirque du Soleil, being on tour with these artists, I was one of 47 artists in our show.
Okay.
And I was one of 2 Americans in our show. Everybody else was European and Russian and Chinese and different cultures, 17 different languages spoken backstage.
Mm.
And they all embrace one another in different ways, different cultures. I got a chance to witness that and be a part of that, and, you know, be around the Russians, who you can't really get much of a smile out of them a lot of times. They may even, you know, tell you a joke, but they're still serious.
Right.
And that's just their cultural, you know, being. When we were in Japan, we were performing, and the Japanese, you know, as much as they love the performance, for them it's respectful. They don't want to clap because they're scared they're going to make you have a mistake on stage. So they're so respectful. And that's how they show their love and respect. In Spain, they're stomping their feet the whole show. And that's how they showed their love and their support. I think growing up the way I did, with a father like mine and brothers like mine, I think we just showed it. It's there. It's deep in there, but we show it in different ways that doesn't always, it's not clear enough. It's not always felt, because the person, I think it's just the person doesn't know how to express it. And when you can express it, you just give so much permission to the other person. I was given so much permission on tour with Cirque du Soleil, being around these different cultures. You know, one of my best friends was Massimiliano Medini from Italy. Every time he saw me, you know, it was, hey, you know, big hug, you know, and I'd come home from tour and see my brothers and be like, and give them, and they're like, you know, like, you know, and I'm like grabbing the back of their neck, and it's like, what's going on? And I just realized that, you know, here it's different. I was raised different.
Yeah.
But I realized I had an opportunity to have that impact on my family about how to express love, how to show love. I think that generation before us just, right? Our fathers in that generation, their fathers, there was something there that didn't make them feel like they were able to express that.
Yeah, I mean, I always say my abuelo, my grandfather, came as a bracero farm worker. He came from Chihuahua, Mexico, to actually Oxnard, where I was born. But he came in a cattle car, and they sprayed him with DMT. And for all intents and purposes, he was like an indentured servant or a slave in Oxnard. They wouldn't let him out. He would work from beginning to end. So he was beat down. So any emotion, feeling. So therefore, my dad never heard the words, I love you, let alone a hug or anything else. Of course, my compassion for my father is like, he's doing the best he can, given what was given to him. And then for our generation, it's like knowing this history, but also knowing that we can give ourselves permission to then give for other people the space to consider being more emotionally expressive or more emotionally like vulnerable. That's where the medicine lies. And I feel like with you and the hoop dance, you're inviting us into a ceremony that then these conversations can happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you just said it. Your brother wants to learn, and you know, millions of people have seen you hoop in some shape or form, whether it was on tour or whether it's a film or whether it was on TED Talk. But I guess that's kind of what one of my final questions really is: what do you hope people get from your film? But more than your film, Eric, like you, from like, you know what I mean? Like you, like I'm already learning so many things in my mind. But what's your message through your life and through the film?
You know, I hope that it just unguards people. And just, whenever I dance, I realize that, you know, the flashiness and the storytelling and the way that the hoops move and the story that I'm telling as I dance, people's hearts open up. And when I'm finished dancing, the words that I speak after the dance are received so much more than before I danced. Before I start dancing, a lot of times the audience is kind of like, all right, what's this guy going to do, Right. And then I dance and their hearts open. I hope that this film, and I hope that as I continue to share my dance, that it just creates that openness. It helps people drop their guard, let go of their ego, let go of, worrying what, people are thinking of them. And they're able to just feel. As an artist, we just want to make people feel. And I hope that it does that. All
right, Eric. Here's one of my favorite parts. It's called the Sacred Five. So 5 questions you answer in 1 word, 1 sentence. It's our way for listeners to get practical advice on their own healing journey. So the first question, name 3 things that make you feel safe, connected, and whole.
Prayer, movement,
Okay.
community.
Love it. All right. As a musician, this one's close to my heart. What song, book, or prayer brings you back to yourself?
Redbone, Come and Get Your Love.
Yes, come and get your love. Yeah, and tell the story. Well, that's a native Chicano, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's one daily ritual or practice that grounds you?
Morning walk.
Okay. What's one action that listeners can take today to help them on their healing journey?
Ask yourself, what advice would you have given yourself 10 years ago?
Man, I want to go like in each one of these. All right. Last question, the Sacred 5. Share a 1-line blessing or quote that inspires you.
Yeah, I think just being aware of, there's a quote that I've heard from Jay Shetty, actually.
Okay.
What does he say? He says, I'm not who I think I am. I am who I think you think I am. And being aware of that is powerful.
Boom. That's it. Jay Shetty, if you're listening,
Come on the podcast.
We're on the podcast. Got to be the Chicano Jay Shetty out here.
Jeez.
So anyways, Eric, so there's a lot going on. The film's coming out, theatrical release and everything else.
Yes.
Where can folks find out more, go see the film, learn about what you're doing, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we're posting all the updates on Courage the Film Instagram.
Courage the Film
Courage
Instagram.
the Film. And we have a theatrical release in Santa Monica, September 12th through 18th.
Okay.
This is going to come out after that. So that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, the Instagram, we put all the updates in there, and we talk about where the film's going to be screened.
Okay.
That's a great place to check it all out, check out the cast, the crew, follow along.
So follow on IG. And what about if someone wants to follow you?
Yeah.
Do you have a website?
Yeah.
IG?
So my production company is called Legacy Vision Productions.
Okay. Legacy Vision Productions.
Yes. And my performances and my film and whatever future films are going to be under that umbrella.
Yeah.
So legacyvisionproductions.com is where you can find all of my stuff.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I want to close by, you said a lot today. Number one, I just want to humbly say thank you for even agreeing to be on the show.
Thanks for having me.
For your story. Some of the nuggets I'm really going to process and really reflect on is you said for us to take the practice of writing our own story as if it was a film and just uninhibited, like write it out. Who are those characters? What are those arcs? But then the next step is to actually perform it or do it publicly. So that was something super profound. And then the other thing is your choice, your courage to embrace your culture through the hoop dance is healing not only others like myself, but healing your relationship with your father, your relationship with your brothers, letting your uncle live for immortality through the film, through your relationships. And so I just want you to know, like, you're an incredible, incredible person. I am so blessed Creator brought us together, and that you are just a reminder of the sacredness of our culture, and just to love up on the culture the way you loved up on all those cultures when you were on tour with Cirque du Soleil. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. And I'm excited to read your book and excited to see all these incredible guests that you have.
Yes.
You're on an incredible journey helping men, you know, even being here and answering the questions that you asked me brought that out. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sacred Lessons is a production of iHeart's My Cultura podcast network, Sacred Lessons Media, and the Prince Group. For more of your favorite shows, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.